Welcome back to another video. It's Christmas Eve, and I decided to kind of shape the next two videos up. I'm going to do opposites, and you'll see what I mean when I talk about the record I'm going to talk about. This record actually is very close to my heart. It's one of those records that touched me when I first heard it, probably about 15 years ago, maybe a little more. It has a fascinating backstory to it. If you bear with me, I think you'll really enjoy it. I think you'll find it quite educational, as I did. I'm talking about a record that I touched upon in my top 10 review, and this is by a pianist named Keith Jarrett. And Keith Jarrett is known as an incredibly accomplished pianist, recording some, I'm just guessing 70 records, recorded with Miles Davis, performed some great jazz greats of the past until he branched out on his own, probably in the, I'd say probably about 69, 70, started to do a lot of stuff on his own. Now this particular record, it's called the Cologne Concert. It was recorded in Cologne, Germany in 1975. And at that time, Keith Jarrett was touring Europe, and he had a gig coming up in Cologne, Germany, and he was staggering his performances, day of performing, day off, day of performing, day off. And this particular night was actually back to back, which he didn't normally want to do, but the producer of the concert in Cologne, Germany was a young woman. I forget her name. She was a teenager, probably about 18 years old. And the concert was to take place at about 11 p.m. after the opera. It was in the Cologne Opera House. So Keith Jarrett drove from Switzerland with his friend, and the journey took them a long time. It was probably about a 17-hour drive. Throughout this concert, Keith Jarrett had a real bad back problem. He had to wear a back brace when he was playing the piano, so he played in a fair amount of pain at that time. And when they got to the hall about 10 p.m., Keith Jarrett wanted to go over the piano and do some tuning. He got to the stage and found out it wasn't his piano. It certainly wasn't the one he wanted. He wanted a Bösendorf grand piano, and a grand piano, of course, has the much longer swoop to it with the longer keys, or pardon me, the longer chords. And he was furious. He was like, "Well, this is what I wanted." They said, "Well, this is what we thought you wanted." And what it was the house piano, just to bang around on and just rehearse and stuff. Well, this piano was in terrible disarray. The lower registers of the keys didn't work very well, and the top keys were very tinny. The whole thing was completely out of tune, and the pedals didn't work. The piano. Now, I'm not a pianist, but I do know a few people who are very accomplished pianists, and the pedals are an integral part of a piano performance, as is the piano being in tune, as is the piano working properly with the keys. So it was going to be recorded that night, and he said, "No, forget it. This isn't going to work. I'm out of here." So he left and went to have dinner with a friend, and they had dinner at an Italian restaurant, and he wasn't feeling very well at all. The food didn't sit well. He got a phone call from this producer, this teenage woman in tears. She tried to get a piano. She couldn't. There's 1,500 people coming for the show. So he said, "You know what? I do like you. For you, I'm going to do it." He came back, and in his sleep depravity, his pain, and his general not feeling well, with a piano that they tried to tune as best they could and only got to a certain point, he played. The performance began. And right from the get-go, the performance was a masterpiece from the opening notes. And how is that? Why is that? Well, Keith Jarrett had to work in the middle register of the piano. He couldn't use the low or high ends of the piano, which made it very difficult to have a lot of variety in the music. So he had to become creative. And what he did was, in the lower middle register, he would hammer out sometimes basic rhythmic patterns, and with the top hand in the higher registers, he would do a flurry of melodic and beautiful lines. And it's something that people hadn't really heard that much of before, not to that extent. And another thing that makes this thing a masterpiece is that it was all improvised. There was no sheet music. And he did it in a beautiful and seamless way. It's recorded in 3 movements. All 3 movements have a different feel, a different pattern, a different style to them. And I know I could probably keep going on about this record and why it was so great. Another reason too is he had to play with a smaller piano, so he had to hammer the keys harder so that it would resonate to the top registers of the opera house. And so you have this bold, beautiful, sweeping, rhythmic music that took the world by storm. This is the biggest selling piano album of all time. 3.5 million copies. And there's a reason for that. May not be your cup of tea. I know my wife, it's not her cup of tea. She doesn't like it. I respect that. But you have to respect the artistry and the artistic integrity that it took to record something on a terrible piece of equipment, feeling pain, feeling tired, and overcoming it all and coming out with a masterpiece. I don't think he wanted to set out to make a masterpiece, but he did. Keith Jarrett, the Colin Concert, Koln. Give it an honest listen. Have patience. I know sometimes in this day and age when it's instant gratification, TV, Netflix, clickbait on your phone, take the time. If it's not this, make it something else that you really love. Take time to listen to an album. I've always found that it's an artistic statement. It's like a piece of somebody's musical diary, and it's a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed that. The next video is going to be opposite of this, and that's actually the next band that's coming up. So Merry Christmas, peace on earth.